Okay, let's bring in France Affairs analyst Abdennour Toumi, who is in Paris. Welcome to you, Abdennour. So, on hearing this story, the first thing I did was try and delve into the facts. I found a report from the start of this year from a Jewish organisation that said the number of anti-Semitic incidents for 2024 was marginally down on the previous year. Also, the French Interior Ministry figures suggest a 24% decrease in anti-Semitic incidents from January to May of this year. So my first question is there any evidence of a rise in anti-Semitism in France, as Charles Kushner is claiming?
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the program. Yes, I mean, it is something of this kind of statements and that have been going on for quite time now. I mean, in the context of the nearly 2-year carnage that is taking place in Gaza Strip on the Palestinians. But what is important here, I mean, this development, it is, as it was stated in the reportage, it's unprecedented for an accredited ambassador to interfere in the host country's domestic politics, because, I mean, it was mentioned, it's all regulated in Vienna 1961 Convention of Diplomatic Relations that defines the framework between the two countries. Now in that France has the largest Jewish community in Europe. It is a thorny issue and question now that has been going on for 2 years. But what has inflamed this, or this statement comes in the aftermath of President Macron declaration to recognize a Palestinian state next month at the UN General Assembly in New York. So, and now in that even President Donald Trump did speak about it and saying it's no event. I mean, but this could go far, because we saw even the U.S. ambassador in occupied Al-Quds Sharif made comment about that, commenting on his ex, actually very interesting. And he said, I'm quoting, "I can now exclusively disclose that France will offer the French Riviera and the new nation will call Francestein." So France will recognize. I mean, it is getting sour between Paris and Washington, and this because France did or is trying to reset its Levant policy doctrine and balanced approach in the conflict, Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Sometimes we hear claims that an individual is anti-Semitic, and that's sometimes being confused with someone who's not opposing the Jewish people, they're opposing the Israeli government, and they're two very different matters, and sometimes they're being conflated. Do you think it's an approach that is sometimes being weaponized by the Israeli government?
It is true. I mean, this is the dilemma, and in this like a thorny question, because anyone now who criticizes these atrocities that are committed on the Palestinians and occupied Palestine, it is labeled as an anti-Semite, and this, especially by the French far right and even the quote-unquote conventional right leaders here in France and media who are actually using the same narrative that the Israeli prime minister has been using and making this parallel about, like, I mean, his unjust war or those carnage that have been going on is, I mean, as if he's fighting for the Western civilization values. And we saw how there is this question of anti-Semitism is poisoning the political debate in which created, I mean, a rivalry between the left-wing party of La France Insoumise or the Embaud France and the rest of the political spectrum and mainstream media.
Abdennour, thank you. Abdennour Toumi is my guest, France Affairs analyst.